So, we're done with webcomics, at least for now, and now we're going to get back to some regular old books. And with that said, here we have Star Wars The Lost Stars. That's not Star Wars The Lost Stars, it's Star Wars Lost Stars. This book was written by Claudia Gray. The book is pretty interesting as it focuses on different points across the Star Wars timeline. What I mean by that is it takes place both before, during, and after the original trilogy, as well as sort of helps set the stage for episode 7. As in this book, we figure out how that Star Destroyer ended up crashing on Jakku. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting story about how it ended up there. But ultimately speaking, as I'll explain later, this story is unimportant to the overall Star Wars narrative. Let me explain. The story follows two main characters, Thane Kyril and Sina Ree. The pair originally lived on the planet of Jellison in the Outer Rim, with the dream of flying spaceships one day and traveling through the stars. Despite their two classes really hating each other, Thane is from a really wealthy class that came after the original migration to the planet, and Sina's people have been there since the original migration, bring your own ethnic comparisons here or there. Despite the two classes being so divided and hating each other, the pair are ultimately united due to their dream of flying. They train together and become better and better pilots over time during their childhood, and eventually manage to get into the Imperial Academy. However, the nature of the Empire threatens to keep the two apart, because Thane eventually realizes just how dangerous and bloodthirsty the Empire is, while Sina, remaining loyal to her traditions and teachings, well, not really even that, but she remains loyal to her word. As the Empire's become her new master, she remains loyal to them. Overall, I have to say this is an interesting book. The plot is split between the two characters as we see different perspectives. We can understand how someone would want to work for the Empire, get to see the glossy image that they put up for the media and whatnot, as well as the inner workings a bit of it a lot more. We can also understand how someone can become disillusioned to all of that and end up joining a rebellion. We can also fully understand why Sina would want to keep working for the Empire despite eventually realizing just how evil, corrupt, and bloodthirsty they are. Ultimately, she's trying to change the system from within, while they realize the system needs to be crushed and try to change it from outside. The characters come off as strong and believable, and we get to see that some members of the Empire aren't completely amoral monsters, and some are just trying to get work done within the corrupted system. We get to see a bit of a side of the Star Wars verse that's ultimately not explored as often as I would like, a world post Episode 6. We see the war didn't simply just end with Luke killing the Emperor and Vader, but there's still a strong force trying to keep that group alive. Overall, the book is very interesting in a number of ways, showing different sides of the Star Wars universe, only tangentially related to our main characters, Luke, Han, and Leia. We get to see, oh, Alderaan was destroyed, but there was a good reason for that between, oh, the Death Star was destroyed, so many people died. And, we get to see how this affects pretty much everyone. Basically, the destruction of the Death Star is a major point of interest between the two characters, as it solidifies Sina's resolve to stay with the Empire, and it solidifies Thane's resolve to get the hell out of the Empire. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was going to see how Vader directly feels, how people directly under Vader's command feel about the guy, and it's all, let's not piss that guy off, as you would expect. Despite all this, why do I still say it's ultimately unimportant to the narrative of Star Wars? Well, because this doesn't really do anything for the overall Star Wars story. Because everything in this is only tangentially related to what's going on. There is no real direct connections to our main cast, and at least don't really have much effect on the overall narrative of Star Wars outside of that Star Destroyer on Jakku for Episode 7. But aside from the story, and not leaving a big impact on the universe as a whole, I still say this is a great story and Star Wars fans will love it. Also, for a love story, it's not annoying to have the two main characters constantly pining for each other because there's a good reason for it. They're essentially both on opposite sides of the war, and we get to see why they're on both those opposite sides. We get to see why Cena remains an Imperial officer, and why Dana eventually becomes a rebel. This is similar to Rogue One, but but not as impactful as that one, and it's a tale that does add a bit more to the overall Star Wars narrative, but isn't really necessary for the overall Star Wars narrative. I do say again, if you're a fan of Star Wars, you'll find yourself liking this story. It has all the Star Wars references and whatnot that any Star Wars fan will end up liking. But again, it's overall unimportant if you're just trying to find things to skip and if you're trying to keep track of everything Star Wars. There's also a manga of this. Yeah, there's a currently ongoing manga series based off this book series. It's exclusive to Japan as of right now, but there's scanlations of it online if you decide to look it up. And there you go, Star Wars Lost Stars.